Hey friends, and welcome back to Copy and, the marketing podcast where I teach you how to write copy that sounds like you, but converts better. And seeing as we are coming up on the end of Q1, I thought now would be a great time to tell you about what my goals are as a copywriter and a nomad for 2026. Before we jump in, I'm going to share this week's Copy Confessions, which comes from Kristen at District Brand Bar. Copy Confessions, the link to submit yours is listed below, but Copy Confessions is simply, what is a marketing mistake that you've made? And you can tell me how you've solved it or how you just let it ride. So this one comes from Kristen at District Brand Bar. She said it's just a small one, not a big story, but that the tagline on her logo was spelled wrong for the first 2 years in her business until a client was finally the one to tell her that it was spelled wrong. So many people saw it, and she even reviewed it when she hired the person who created that tagline. She obviously looked at it all the time and no one noticed, and if anyone noticed, they never told her. So that is Kristen's marketing mistake, or her copy confession. If you've got one that you'd like to leave below, you can do that and I will read it on the podcast. You can do it anonymously or let me know who you are and I will share your secrets with the world. So today we're going to talk about my goals, and something that I've done the last couple of years is a bingo card rather than simply a list of goals. Like you, I've probably made a bunch of goals in the past using the SMART framework, which I absolutely 100% believe in. However, something that I've had as a goal for the last couple of years is to add a little bit more whimsy to my life. So when creating my goals this year, I was inspired by a friend of mine last year. She created her bingo card and it was all based on fun things that she wanted to do. It wasn't that she wanted to run a marathon and lose 5 pounds and visit a certain number of countries, which is something that I try to do every year as far as the countries go. But hers were fun. Hers had to do with relationships and things that she wanted to do. She wanted to get a tattoo. And if you're watching this, we actually ended up getting a matching tattoo. So if you're on my YouTube versus just listening to this over on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, you can see that we got a little matching tattoo. So she had so much fun with her bingo card, and it got me thinking, because I had a bingo card as well, but it was still very, rigid goal related. And it got me thinking that this year I wanted to have a little bit more fun with my goals. So I'm going to share some of them with you. Now, I have my iPad with me, and of course, a bingo card is 5x5. The middle one is the free space, and I share my bingo card with my partner. So he has 8 spaces, I have 8 spaces, and then we have 8 goals that we accomplish together, and then that middle spot is something that's kind of a given or a free space. So this year on our free space is get married. That's something that's on our bingo card. I'm only going to share with you the ones that are just mine, because this is not his podcast, and I'll share a few of them that are shared as well. So let's jump in. In the past, my goals have been, like I said, SMART goal related. There are some goals that I have every single year. One of my goals is to read 24 books. Since 2019, I've read over 50 books per year, but what I don't want to do is create a moving goalpost. So I have that on my goal list every year. One of my larger life goals is to visit every country. So I have on my list of goals each year to visit 7 new countries, because that would help me reach all of the countries before I reach age 50. And then there's always a couple of wildcard goals that I add in. Some of them are savings or financially related. Some of them are fitness related. But on my bingo card this year, I wanted to have a little bit more whimsy. So one of them is to run a sub 30 5K. Right now, I think I'm running a 5K anywhere between 34 and 36 minutes on a given day. So I want to get my 5K time down. For me, that's less about running a 5K really fast, which would be really fast for me. I don't think I've ever in my life run a 5K in less than 30 minutes. And more so because I'm working on my cardio health. So that's a way to quantify how I'm working on my cardio health all year long, because that's not something that I can just go outside and crank out right now. Another thing on my bingo card is to see a Broadway play. I am 34 years old. It has been on my bucket list for a long time to see a Broadway play, and I've never done it. So when I'm in California, I'm relatively close to both San Francisco and Sacramento. I know that The Lion King is playing right now. I think it wraps up pretty soon, but it's a goal of mine to see a Broadway play, whether it's here, whether I have to fly for it. This year, I'm going to see a Broadway play. If you've got an extra ticket to a Broadway play, call me. Let me know. I'd love to go. Next thing on my bingo card is to drive a tuk-tuk. Not just ride in a tuk-tuk, but drive one. On my travel plans this year, I'm going to India and Nepal, where tuk-tuks are relatively popular, as well as planning on going to Thailand and maybe some other Eastern Asian countries. So tuk-tuks are pretty popular over there. I'm pretty sure that I can get in one. It's getting somebody to let me drive one. That's the real goal. And where this goal comes from, yeah, it sounds like a lot of fun, but also I think there's a lot of vulnerability in asking for things that you think people are going to say no to, and a lot of adventure in just saying yes when you have the opportunity. So that's where the whimsy of that one comes from. Next goal on my list is to go to a Waffle House. I really like Waffle House. I know Waffle House gets a bad reputation. I lived in the South a couple different times. I've lived in Texas twice and Florida once. And while everybody kind of hates on Waffle House, I really like it. I love the atmosphere. I love the food. I love that greasy garbage food. So I want to go to a Waffle House. This one is slowly coming into fruition because my mastermind was talking about where to get together for a retreat this year. And I think that we have decided to go to Atlanta. So not only would we get to go to Atlanta, but I may just be able to take myself to the Waffle House Museum, depending on how it all pans out. More work-related goals include to MC an event. I really want to MC an event. I don't care if it's somebody's wedding. I don't care if it's a work-related event. If you are listening and you run events and you need an MC, let me know. I would love to MC your event. I'd like to think I'm pretty funny and articulate and love engaging a crowd. I am not afraid to stand in front of a bunch of people with a microphone and be a little bit silly. So I want to MC an event this year. I also want to get paid to speak in real life. That's my next goal, is get paid to speak in real life. Let's see, it was 2024 is the last time that I was paid to be on a stage. 2025 didn't really apply to a lot and certainly wasn't accepted to be paid to speak on a stage. So things that I speak on stages about include things that are motivational, like achieving your life goals while running a business. A lot of what I talked about in the last several episodes of this podcast, like building funnels and writing copy that sounds like you but converts better. I want to see us all make a whole bunch of money, and copy is a great conduit for that. So as a copywriter, I'm very qualified to speak on stages about how to make more money as a woman in business. Next goal that I have on my list is to have my podcast be on somebody else's Spotify Wrapped. Now, I've got a couple of friends who I know listen to my podcast religiously, but the real goal here is that somebody that I don't really know listens to my podcast so much that it ends up on their Spotify Wrapped, and then they tag me on Instagram. I think it would just make me so happy. It would make my whole year if somebody just tagged me randomly on Instagram and said, these are the podcasts that are on my Spotify Wrapped or that I listened to the most this year, and if mine was one of them. I would also be so curious to see who the other podcasters are that they're listening to at the same time as they're listening to my podcast. Next goal on the list is to make a coffee bar in my house. I drink coffee every day. It's not my whole personality. I have one cup. But there's something about the rhythm and the ritual of making a cup of coffee every morning and deciding what milk and what flavor and is it hot or cold, and just making that very grounded decision for myself each morning that I find a lot of joy in. And right now my countertops are really cluttered and I would like to make myself a coffee bar in my kitchen. So that's on my list of goals this year as well. So to recap, my goals for myself are to see a Broadway play, run a sub 30-minute 5K, drive a tuk-tuk, go to Waffle House, MC an event, get paid to speak on a stage, have my podcast be on somebody's Spotify Wrapped, and make a coffee bar in my house. Now, we do have a couple of shared goals. Like I said, we're getting married this year. I want to visit 3 new-to-me national parks. I've been out in California for about 5 years now, and the only national parks that I visited are Pinnacles, Channel Islands, and Joshua Tree and Yosemite. So those are 4. I think there are 11 in California, and I really want to focus more on California travel this year. I have traveled a lot out of the state and out of the country. So I've visited a lot of national parks in the last few years, but not a whole lot in California. California also struggles with things like flooding and fires, and also some of our national parks, including Yosemite, have metered access. So it's made it a little bit more difficult for me to visit. So sometimes it's easier for me to just plan a trip out of the country than it is to plan a trip within the state. So I'm being much more intentional about traveling within California this year. We want to do a couple of house projects. There are some financial goals that we have. And also another fun one is that we want to road trip into either Canada or Mexico. So yeah, we're planning a lot of local travel, a lot of domestic travel this year. We have a lot of fun goals that have been on the back burner the last couple of years that we're just putting at the forefront to get done this year. So adding a lot of whimsy. I have some backyard projects planned. I want to spend a bunch of time outside, whether that's in our backyard or in our figurative backyard that is California. I'm really planning on it's a life year, is how I've been describing it to people. That this is a life year for me, for us. We have a lot of personal goals. I'm sharing them here with you, but in order to accomplish my personal goals, I still need to accomplish my business goal. For me to put both business and personal goals on the same bingo card that I share with my partner feels really fun. It feels really expansive, and I wanted to share them here with you because of a couple of reasons. First, I think that back at the beginning of the year, there's always so much pressure to fill out your bingo card, state your goals, start working on them right away, because by the time this podcast is coming out, we're in mid-March. So really, depending on who you ask, we're 20-25% of the way through the year. I don't see any harm in continuing to create and restate your goals. And as the whole world kind of thaws out and melts and starts to bloom, I think it's totally acceptable for us to do that too as humans. Second reason I want to share is because there's a very real person behind this podcast. And I have a lot of fun creating this. I have a lot of fun in my work and creating copy that sounds like you but converts better. I want you to sell a whole bunch, and that's always my goal when I'm at my desk. But when I'm away from my desk, I'm constantly learning things and doing things that make me even better at my job. For example, last year I had somebody hire me because she saw on my Instagram stories that I was working out. She's a fitness instructor, so she knows that I speak her lingo. I'm out there exploring and learning new languages and talking to different types of people. I'm expanding my understanding of the way that people see online business, the way that people see you, depending on your industry. So by me expanding that view, I'm able to come at your copy understanding diverse perspectives. I can look through other people's eyes at what you do and translate what you do out to them as well. So I think I have some pretty cool goals this year. I'm excited to continue working on them. Like I said, I fully acknowledge that it's March and that we should be well on our way to accomplishing our goals. I haven't crossed anything off my bingo card just yet. So let this be an encouragement to you that we are real people running our businesses. And if you feel like you're behind, you're absolutely not. Time isn't real. We're just out here floating on a rock through space and doing our darn best. I, of course, want to help you continue to do your best. And if doing your best means outsourcing copy, you know where to reach me. You can find me at nomadcopyagency.com/contact, where you can hand over your copy tasks like rewriting your website or writing for a super successful launch. I will work alongside you to make that happen and help you make a bunch of money, because the world is a better place when it has more of you in it. You can always find me on Instagram. I'm at nomad.copy. And if you have suggestions for what should be in the podcast, you can reach out to me at Samantha@nomadcopyagency.com. Have a great week. And remember, I'm here to see you win.